Okay, good evening, everyone. I call the regular city council meeting to order Monday, August 28th at 6 o'clock. Roll call, Lindsay?
Here.
John?
Here.
Dar?
Here.
Maureen?
Here.
Bailey?
Here.
And Pat is on his way. Everybody please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is public comments. The council received public comments on any issue related to the agenda item. Limited discussion by council may take place. Okay, next item is the consent agenda. Planning Commission meeting minutes from August 7th, council meeting from August 14th, tourism committee meeting minutes from August 14th.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Before we start the presentation of the downtown parking plan, first I want to thank everybody for taking your time to come out today and offer your feedback on the paid parking proposal. We'll start the presentation on the current proposal. Afterwards, we'll open up the public hearing, give you the chance to offer feedback. When you come up, please state your name and address for the record. We do want to hear from everyone, so please keep it short, up to 3 minutes, to give your input before we ask for the next person to come to the podium. We ask that you remain polite and courteous while speaking, and again, we look forward to hearing your feedback. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our city planner, Carter Hayes, present the city.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this is our proposed paid parking plan. I'll just jump right into it. This is our downtown parking inventory map. This displays space count. So our total space count downtown is 418 spaces, 277 of which are in the street and 141 of which are in the surface lots. This map here would be our proposed downtown parking guide. This would show where paid parking would be, where paid parking wouldn't be, and where there's no public parking on the street. It also shows our pay station locations in black, in red the 15-minute parking locations, and accessible parking locations as well. So our purpose, kind of why we've generated this plan, starting out with parking revenue, that can be returned to the for added public services in the metered areas. So the downtown area, you can think of public Wi-Fi, street plantings, park amenities, overall downtown beautification items. Paid parking also stimulates turnover and can open new spots for patrons. An increase in those spots can also cut on traffic congestion, or what they call cruising, which is the act of patrolling for an open spot in the downtown. And then overall, our purpose is not to solely generate revenue with this plan, but also manage our current parking inventory as best we can. So for payments, we're looking at utilizing a mobile app, Park Mobile, for app-based payments, as well as IPS Group's multi-space pay stations for traditional payments. Our current proposed rate is $1.50 per hour, which is accepted credit, debit, contactless with Apple and Google Pay, and with coins. You would also be able to pay incrementally, so it's not all or nothing $1.50. You could drop a quarter in for 10 minutes, or you can just pay for 15 minutes, whatever you would be looking to do. We don't have a maximum time limit, except vehicles cannot be parked overnight in non-designated areas. So those designated areas for overnight parking would be the Orange Street lot, the Cherry Street lot, and the Merkard Mill parking lots. For permits, residents and employees would be able to self-register through the IPS online permit portal. This is an example of Rapid City, South Dakota's web portal. Resident permits would be no cost with a 2-vehicle limit per address, and employee permits would be $8 per month, and those employee permits would be valid only in the areas northeast of Broad Street. We've also discussed permits being available for the extended stay parking sessions, so marinas, the hotel and motels, and a boat launch permit as well. For employee parking, this would be the employee parking zone northeast of Broad Street. There is 161 current spaces there, and this would be aimed to keep the Broad Street parking spaces available for visitors and customers or people who drive through Prescott to be able to stop and visit our downtown. To run down the permit types again, we have our annual resident, which is 2 no-fee permits, and we also have a ramped pay structure for a 3rd, 4th, and 5th permit for $15, $30, and $60 respectively. Those are permitted all day. Once again, no cost for 2 permits, and those are valid in all areas downtown. Our business and employee permit is valid or permitted all day, $8 per month per employee, and in that same area northeast of Broad Street that we just touched on. We have a 24-hour visitor permit that would be permitted 24 hours throughout the entire day, $12 per day, and that's just valid in the surface lots. And then our annual visitor permit, which is essentially like our resident permit, but would cost $120 a year for that permit. For enforcement, we would have 2 police vehicles outfitted with license plate readers and with software for scanning the license plates with our parking database through Park Mobile and IPS. And those LPRs can scan at a sub-second rate, so it's actually a lot quicker than our current enforcement procedures. So that process would kind of look like an officer driving down and scanning a violator's license plate with the LPR, and then they could immediately be able to write a citation with the citation management software, which takes anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute to do, and it's pretty swift. And then that citation is immediately pushed to our municipal court software, cutting out a step previously where our court clerk would have to manually enter the citations, and that's through a software integration with IPS and our court software. So this sheet, we had some questions regarding what the solution costs and what our projected return would be. So this solution is looking to cost just under $150,000, and we would look to get an annual return of $74,000, just about. And so this is calculated based on 3 like clients that IPS Group has. These 3 clients here, and their average volume reduced by 25%. So for us, that would look like 9 transactions per street pay station per day and 12 transactions per lot pay station per day. So in total on those pay stations, 54 on the street and 60 in the lots, and that gives us 114 total transactions per day in the downtown. And that is reduced by 50% October through April, so 7 months out of the year. And that gets us to that $74,000 mark. So next, I'll turn it over to Matt Wolf to speak a little bit about the funding and potential improvements.
So Mayor and Council, one of the things that we've requested or heard back is how would we use these funds, and the idea behind this plan is really twofold. First, it's for better managing our downtown parking, but it is also to add additional revenue to offset the burden of our Prescott residents in terms of their taxes that they pay. So what we're considering is really 2 areas that we'd split the funding. First would go into a downtown parking fund. This would be maintenance of parking equipment, snow removal of sidewalks, additional parking acquisition and construction, downtown cameras for our Prescott Police Department for better enforcement, overall beautification items, and then events that would hopefully further attract people into our downtown to help our businesses. And then the other 50% would go into a capital improvement fund, and that would help to pay for things like public safety vehicles and equipment, public works vehicles and equipment, minor street projects, and parks projects. So is it fair? One of the things we've heard and we understand is that the surrounding area outside of Prescott has specifically said, well, I pay school district property taxes, so I don't think it's fair that I should have to pay for a permit to park downtown. And we value our relationship with Oak Grove and Clifton. We have a very good one in terms of our fire department, so it's not something that we take lightly. However, if you look at the base of an average sale price in the city of Prescott of $475,000, which it was for July of 2023, a Prescott resident pays about $8,675 in property taxes, where for instance, if you took an Oak Grove household, they're spending about $1,500 less. So although I know $120 is not something that you would appreciate paying, you are looking at about 33 cents a day in terms of if you broke that out through a whole year. And of course, this is because residents of Prescott do pay for all the parking downtown in terms of what is maintained. Also, we have a police department, parks department, library, and public works department. We are trying to uphold as well in terms of their future expenses. So a City of Prescott resident has about a 1.8% effective property tax rate versus surrounding areas looking about 1.3%. So as we move forward, we did hold two meetings with business owners last Tuesday, August 22nd. There were 7 common sentiments that business owners expressed to us as part of the feedback when reviewing the plan. First, there was overall concerns about negative impact on businesses due to paid parking, potentially discouraging customers from visiting. Worries that paid parking will negatively affect the city's reputation as a shopping destination. Overall opposition to paying for non-resident passes and worries about employee parking away from businesses due to safety. Questions about the practicality and enforcement of the paid parking system, including app-based management of policing private lots. Skepticism about the decision-making process, potential external influences, and fears of adverse effects on the city's economy and vitality. Multiple businesses felt that the parking downtown is not an issue and is only an attempt for the city to raise additional revenue. And then the city should really look at other options like a parking ramp or better enforcement of current parking downtown. So currently, in terms of the meeting schedule, back on the Monday, July 24th, Council reviewed and approved the communication plan. We posted the plan to our website and Facebook back on August 1st. Plan Commission reviewed the parking plan and offered its recommendation of approval based on a vote of 4-0. Downtown business informational meetings then happened last Tuesday, and then today we're holding our public hearing in terms of downtown parking. The current proposed plan would see moving forward potential approval of the expenses and implementation at our next meeting. If that were approved, we'd be putting this out in our September quarterly newsletter for information for residents. And then October, December would look at possibly implementation and installation of equipment. So with that, I'll turn it back over to council for comments or questions. Otherwise, we're looking to open the public hearing and gain feedback from those interested.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Anybody have anything before we go to the public hearing?
No. I'm going to do a motion to open public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to open public hearing. I'll do a roll call. Bailey?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Barb?
Aye.
John? Aye. Lindsay?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in public hearing. So anybody would like to come up, state your name, where you're from, and tell us your concerns.
My name is Ben Bettis. I live at 568 Pleasant Drive. I know I got 3 minutes here, so we'll try to pound through this, and hopefully some of the stuff I don't get to, I'm sure there's a lot of others out here that are going to get to it as well. Matt, you stated that you're looking at additional parking and acquisition. I was just wondering if you had any ideas of where you would think of put additional parking.
Current discussion has been along Cherry Street.
Okay. So farther up into the neighborhoods, right?
Well, there's a big open area that we'd be looking at.
Okay. The lot behind Holiday there, I was under the impression that lot was going to be made bigger. Is that not going to happen anymore, or?
In terms of overall dimensions of what's
Correct.
currently there?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about putting more parking further up. I mean, overall, the slope of the area kind of limits how much parking we can get there without having to spend a lot of money on putting in
Okay.
infrastructure.
You know, there were 40-plus parking spaces that were eliminated from this city when the downtown beautification of the platforms that rarely anybody uses and statues full of spoons were put there. You know, we're trying to say we have a parking problem now, but we kind of, to be honest with you, tied our hands behind our back by getting rid of 40-some parking spots. And I just think that could have been handled a little bit better there. You know, I haven't seen, you say officers and squad cars. Are we using our police force that we have now, or are we looking to add others?
I guess, or do we want this to be a Q&A or public hearing?
I can just run down and.
Yeah, we
Okay.
need you to state your concerns
Okay,
within
okay.
3 minutes, and then we can hear your information and
Okay, sounds good.
take it all in.
You know, if we're looking at CSOs, I mean, we're already down 4 officers in town from what I understand. So now we're gonna hire, I mean, from what I understand, the last CSO in town didn't work out very well for any of the patrons. All he did is drive around and just write tickets for everybody.
Right.
You know, the people will park up into the neighborhoods. They will get around this paid parking. One of the ways closest to the river they can get around this is the city street that runs down to Miss Croy Marina. That is a city street that Miss Croy patrons use, and there's no parking spots, but you can park all the way up and down and back around that street. Miss Croy, I'm sure, would love to be able to put a gate there to stop people from just doing that. People are going to find the easy and free ways to do this, but they can't put a gate because it's city street. Technically, there's not any marked parking areas. So who is going to be able to police that so the marina members aren't stuck with the place that, I'm a marina member myself of Point St. Croix, but we pay a lot of money in slip fees and everything else to be able to use our boats. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for bikes and boats, this town wouldn't be what it is. So, you know, and I guess at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of other ways to create revenue in this city than to pay for parking.
How?
Well, that's okay. No, I'd love to answer this question. I would like to see, and to be honest with you, use the boaters. Boaters pay. I mean, there's a bunch of them in here. I see them. We go to Afton, we go to Stillwater, we go to Hudson, we go to Red Wing. If Hastings had a bigger dock, we'd probably be going to Hastings with our boats. Whenever we go to these other places, they have city-ran marinas or public docks like we have here. You have to pay to park there. You don't just get to put your boat there and walk up into town and be there forever. It's $5 an hour. And usually it's a younger high school kid that gets tipped awfully well, gets paid hourly by the city, and they keep track of registration numbers and the times. Now, they're not there all day, every day, but it's a way to do it. Now, I know there's docks sitting in the weeds where Steamboat used to be, and I've seen them in the water, and then I've seen them taken back out. There used to be slips there. I know the DNR has, those docks were built, put in there to get the extra permit for that lot to have river access. Could the city possibly look into buying that lot, making it a parking area for cars, making a water access for boaters, and putting in, by the amount that's there, you should be able to fit anywhere from probably 8 to 10 15-foot wide slips. Boats come in, you charge $5 an hour. You can, I mean, they're going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You could even, if you really wanted to as a city, if that's city-owned, you could charge overnight fees. A lot of these places around here, Afton, Hudson, stuff like that, they're getting $50 a night. That starts after 8 o'clock at night is when we usually can go into those marinas. So from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock the next morning, you pay $50 to have your boat there overnight. Boaters pay. We have short seasons and we want to enjoy the living heck out of it. So we pay every other place we go to park our boats. We have boats here all summer long. You know, the public dock, well, I don't think it being a boater, it could have been designed a little bit better. There could be a lot more parking there for more boats. But I think there's an opportunity there for revenue. And installing this in December, you're looking all your business owners in the eye, and you're basically telling them you don't care. Yeah. There are businesses that close during the winter, and they don't close because they want to, they close because they have to. These guys dip into their summer savings to keep their businesses afloat, to keep their employees, and that's why they close their doors for a month. We know who the businesses are because we can't go there in the wintertime. The wintertime would be a terrible time to start this, and if this does go through, which I don't want any part of it, and I think there's plenty of people in here, but if for some odd reason this is going to get pushed through, you need to look at doing it from April 1st through November 1st, and that's it. There should be no paid parking in this town regardless, but the people of the city aren't getting to vote on this. You guys get to. If that is the case, you should definitely make it not harder for people to come here when this city is starving in the wintertime than it is right now. So I went over 3 minutes, but I'm sure there's others.
Good evening, council members and staff, and thank you all for showing up. This is huge. First, I just want to ask whose idea was it? You don't have to answer, but whose idea was it? I don't think it was any of ours. There's lots of rumors flying around town of who brought this idea to you, apparently. Matt, was it yours? I mean, honestly, we as a city have a right to know whose idea this was. Matt, you don't even live in Wisconsin. You don't live in Prescott. I see you're on the agenda later.
No personal
the-
attack,
yeah,
please.
Well, I'm just
I'm
putting it
telling
out
you,
there. He has
no
no
personal
interest in our
attack.
city.
And I think,
So-
and answer-
He's
I'm
fine.
gonna
Okay,
answer your
fine.
question.
Okay, no,
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry, I can't answer.
yeah,
your
it's not a
question.
Q&A. So basically then, we do have people in this room and in this city who could fill your seats if you're gonna pass this through. Obviously, people are really heated about this. We don't want this. You're gonna kill the businesses. You're already attacking Leo's Landing. Now with the zoning, you're attacking all the businesses along Highway 10. And now with this, you're gonna kill our downtown businesses. We need them. They put lots of money into this city. They send their kids to our schools. They shop here, they live here, they eat here. We need our businesses. And if you do this, they're gonna be gone. What about Lake Street? If you do this, everyone's gonna park along Lake Street. The folks that live along there already have cops patrolling speeding, which there could be more cops out there patrolling speeding. And then you're gonna get people parking at the beach, which we already have issues with people parking at the beach and residents not being able to use the beach because the parking is full. The employee parking that you had up on the map is way too far away. That is not safe, especially for young girls who are waitresses or work at Angie's or anywhere. That is not safe. Are you kidding? We already have a lot of issues at night in Prescott. I'm sure the chief could attest to that. So now what do these girls need to have mace on them and the gentlemen too? It's just, that's way too far away. Thanks for making resident parking free. We appreciate that. God forbid this goes through. But if you're gonna do that, then let's make resident parking at the boat launch free. We are boaters and we would like to not have to pay a resident fee to park our trailer when we go boat. And again, parking at the beach for Lake Street residents, you're gonna have to do something for them too. The app payment, Verizon users are screwed. Verizon does not work in this town, and you have to figure that out first before you install parking meters. Let's focus on spending less, saving more. Where can we start with that? I don't know. I could look into it more and send you an email if that's what you want. I'd be happy to do that. And then lastly, September 11th, folks, that's when they're gonna vote on this. We all have to come back into this room and restate that we don't want this. So keep that on your calendars. Thank you.
Just really quick for the Verizon, we did approve a lease agreement with Verizon, so.
Is it gonna go downtown though? Like, is it gonna, are you gonna?
I can't speak for Verizon, but
We need to
so,
be at the
yeah.
podium if
Yeah,
we're
you need to
gonna
be at the
talk.
podium, but I can't speak for Verizon, but I can tell you we did sign a lease agreement, because I know that's a huge complaint.
My name's Rich Shealy. My name's Rich Shealy, and I think we'd all like to have some kind of a working model to see where this is really going to work or not. About 5 years ago, over across the bridge at Point Douglas Park, they started charging for parking. And does anybody paying attention to what happened there? I mean, the people that are coming are at least half. I counted 18 cars today when I went across the bridge on my way home from work. So if you want a working model, I would just look over there. I mean, things are tough everywhere, and if you're just punching numbers on the paper, they work, but goodwill is lacking in this whole measure. So if you want a working model, I think that's what we're all looking for, a working model. It's black and white. And if you want this to work, I think the way that it's going to be best made to work is if you can work with your people downtown and allow them some parking that they regulate, maybe some valet parking or something like that. You get some of the revenue, they get some of the revenue. So it's a win on both sides for people that have those clientele. Otherwise, I don't think you're gonna get the revenue you said you're gonna get, with all the numbers. And I just think it's important, on a logical basis, everybody's looking for a working model. And that's the working model that I see happening over there, and that's the working model that I see is gonna happen here.
Good evening. My name is Angie Miner, and I currently represent the shopping in Prescott, Wisconsin, downtown right now. You may have heard 22 and Company is leaving. I probably will be one of the first in and out businesses that stands to significantly be impacted immediately by this plan. I am open 7 days a week. I take the busy weekends with the slow times, and that's how I'm able to be open 7 days a week with that little bit of a break that some of us take in January because it's very slow. I spoke very passionately at the 11 and 3:30 meeting last week, and thank you, Matt, for passing some of those things and concerns around. So I'm not gonna, you weren't there, but what I will say is, I know a lot of people appreciate the small town culture, and we've heard a lot about that this week. And I am open 7 days a week. Take any model you want from Deadwood, Colorado, or Rapid City, Iowa, or whatever they're saying. We see it. I know the demographic of the people that come into the stores, the effort that they would make if they had to pay paid parking. And I know that immediately it would impact the coffee, the shopping, the pizza, the liquor sales, and it would trickle from there. So, I could say a lot, thank you for all that's been said so far, but I'm just gonna say, please don't. I wanna stay. And I think a lot of the residents of Prescott like my store. I'm a place where people can pop in and get a birthday gift and get a souvenir and come in with their grandkids and buy a toy. And it sure would be great to even have more shopping. I hear that over and over again. So from a growth standpoint, is this gonna help? Probably not. But I wanna stay. And it will become very, very difficult, and I know that, and it will be a very, very fast impact on my business. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Matt Bronk, and I own the Twisted Oak Coffee House downtown at 202 Broad Street. I put on my nice Crocs for this. When this proposal first came about, I tried to keep an open mind. I did my best to think of how we could make it work for us and our businesses and overall with the city of Prescott, and whether it end up helping us or hurting us. Charging a blanket fee for all of downtown, hold on, I missed a line. This is what I came up with. Charging a blanket fee for all of downtown Prescott, including parking lots and streets going up the hill when we should be trying to manage parking by trying to direct people up off of Broad Street and into those spots and lots up the hill, doesn't make sense. Having a downtown workforce made up almost entirely of high school and college-age students who are notorious for regularly swapping out their vehicles, have to pay and keep consistently getting their vehicles registered, doesn't make sense. Prescott being a highway town that people swing in because of convenience, we are not a destination town. Requiring someone to pay for parking when they can just as easily stop 10 minutes down the road to hit another business doesn't make sense. An amount of $60 as a citation for failure to pay doesn't make sense. Charging someone for parking in the dead of January where it's -0 and there isn't another vehicle on the entire block doesn't make sense. Requiring a tourist driving through town once to download an app to park doesn't make sense. Promises of snow removal and city beautification projects when our city works department is already understaffed and overwhelmed doesn't make sense. This goes for the police department and enforcement as well. Coming up with a big splash move that risks the livelihoods of dozens of business owners when you haven't tried smaller, more affordable, and less risky ideas such as getting good signage, as simple as that, to direct people into the parking lots you do have, doesn't make sense. The list goes on and on. The risks clearly outweigh the rewards. I believe that if the proposal were to pass, paid parking would put a bad taste in people's mouths when visiting Prescott. They wouldn't come back. Our downtown survives off of repeat business, and losing our unique small businesses would be a big loss for our community and our local economy. This makes the proposal a bad investment for our town. I ask that you vote no on this proposal because in the end, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't work. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pam Joel. I live in Oak Grove Township, but I spend all of my revenue in the city of Prescott. I also work at the antique shop, and I frequent many of the restaurants on a regular basis every week. And the cry that I hear from all of these restaurants or the shops is that staff is so hard to come by. And now we're going to make it even worse because they just can't find help. Now we're restricting what they can do to get to work easily, and a lot of these businesses cannot charge a lot, per hour to maintain staff. I'm already hearing the echo of problems already. I am a realtor in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I can say the prices of the parking proposal are almost as much as the Twin Cities for parking. So I'm having a hard time with that because the parking downtown Minneapolis is not that far off from what you're trying to propose. River Falls had parking, they do not anymore. City of Hudson has 15,000 people, and for 4 hours, you can pay $1.50 to park for 4 hours. So I'm trying to understand just the concept of the costs. But I can tell you this, the restaurants are struggling. We have a lot of people that come into the shop that have never been before and are so excited because it's so easy to get in and out. And they're not here long, or they're staying for the weekend at Megan's Hotel. And it's the first time a lot of these people have never been here before. It's amazing to me. I've been here almost 20 years now, and it's like, wow, we still have new people coming here and don't even know what Prescott's all about. Hastings does not have parking to pay. They have plenty of parking, but they don't ask for a payment. River Falls used to have it. They don't anymore. So I don't know what the answer is. I tell you what, we all like to eat. Maybe 4 times a year we have a huge feed of some sort and put all that revenue back into the city. I mean, everybody loves corn. So I'm just trying to be creative because that's what I do in my work. I'm a problem solver. And there has to be some other things besides adding more cost to all of our lives. So thank you for listening.
Hi everybody, my name is John Schmitz. Don't trip here. I live at 171 Tower Heights Court. I moved here about 10 years ago. My wife is a Patakan in Bjork, so I think I'm related through marriage to about half the town here. I have a family in town, 4 kids, and through the 10 years I've been here, I've seen what seems to be either incompetence or willful destruction taking the town down. Businesses are being run out, parks are being built, destroying parking, and it's just leading to increased taxes for everybody. A lot of you have brought up topics today about the parking downtown and the issues it's going to cause. I fully agree with 100% of them. Nothing good can come of this. Just right off the bat, the numbers spit out by the proposal, I can tell you, not even going to be close to what the revenue generated is. I'm sure it does not account for over 50% of spots being taken by residents, the lack of parking throughout the week, people down there for a problem that only exists really on Friday and Saturday. And even then, it's really a problem if people are downtown spending money. If you want to go down there and it's busy, try again later, park further away and walk. It's not an issue. And I would like to remind the city here that every penny you spend is a penny that you've taken from these people out here to spend on whatever it is you're deciding to spend it on. It's somebody's vacation, clothes for their kids. And I think that it seems lost on the city council with what they're doing and what they're spending it on. Thomas Paine once famously penned, "Government at its best is a necessary evil, at its worst an intolerable one." My opinion is this city has strayed far past necessary and well into the intolerable. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Tony Zinda. I live at 388 Young Street South. And I've been here 20 years and I don't know hardly anybody in this town. I've known some business owners. I was a part of a business downtown for a while. But I am also a single homeowner in this town. I pay a lot in taxes. I go downtown to the restaurants, to the bars. I'm not going to if I have to pay to park down there. And I know I'm a resident, so it's free, but if my friends come into town, they're not gonna stay. They're gonna say, you compare Rapid City to Prescott, there's no comparison. You're talking apples and oranges. $70,000 in some is the projected revenue that you're gonna get. It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, let's be realistic. We'll be lucky if you make 45. 35, let's cut that in half. It's kind of like having a Tupperware party. You invite 40 people and only 20 people come. You're taking away some of your tax income, your income by getting rid of Leo's Landing, I understand. You took away 40 parking spots, I heard. I've heard nothing but things we've taken away. And now you're going to take away from the businesses downtown by charging people $1.50 when somebody just stated in Minneapolis you can get 4 hours for $1.50. I can go downtown to the clubs in Minneapolis just as easy as I can go downtown to the No Name. It doesn't bother me to drive. But I'm not going to recommend any of my friends to come downtown Prescott if they have to pay for parking, and I'm not paying big city prices, and my friends are not paying big city prices. We are a small town. Let's keep it small townish. Can we please just, I don't know if you have to pretend, but this is a town of, I believe we're less than 5,000 people. The $475,000 house that was used for comparison up there is all the new building that's going on. Old Prescott, all of us in town, my house is going nowhere near what they're appraising it at or assessing it at now. And I don't think any of the other the houses in town that have been here for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, are going for $475,000. That's a swan song. It's just not realistic. I moved here because I wanted to get out of Woodbury. And I wanted to live in a small town. I'm from a small town in southwestern Minnesota. I wanted to come back to a small town. I live here with my dogs, and we had had a very nice time. But now, just over the last 6 months, 8 months, I've heard all this that's going on, and I don't come up and speak. I'm up here now, and I'm saying something. And I think everybody in town is saying something. We're all saying this is a bad idea. Please do not pass this bill, whatever it is, whatever this recommendation is. Do not pass it. Nobody wants it except for maybe some big players somewhere. I'm not sure who they are or whatever, but nobody wants it. You can't compare us to anybody that you have so far. And I just don't see it being good for this town. And it'll frankly, I would even think about going to a smaller town if I could find one, but I do work, and I work hard for my money. I work hard to keep my house. I work hard to keep my house looking nice in this town, where I see a lot of places, a lot of people don't. But we tried with didn't we have a ordinance person who drove around and wrote things out for, why? Okay, and now we're going to have to hire more police, because the police who are fighting or who are downtown stopping the fights are not going to have time to check the parking. So, I mean, just think about it, hear us. This is a bad idea. Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me.
Should I sit down again, or? Okay, well, I'll try to speak a little more loudly. I'm Sharon Monroe. We live on Young Street, the old stair root house, the old most house. We've only been here 3 years, but one of the things we came here for is the small town atmosphere. The safety, we see our kids, they can play outside. My God, they can play outside. Now we know we bring in a bunch of outsiders who are driving around. They're going to look for free parking. They'll drive down Broad Street. Oh man, it's all parking meters. They'll go up. Maybe they'll all wind up in St. Joseph's parking lot while they're trying to have school. But they're not looking for our kids and our grandkids. So just as a non-economic factor, are we going to feel comfortable with our kids being out running around knowing that there are people there who aren't looking out for them? Just a thought that came to my mind.
Hi there, my name's Gavin Thorsrud. I'm at N5812, 1242nd Street. And I haven't seen or heard any good explanation of how you're going to manage motorcycles with this meter plan. Do you really expect each bike to take its own spot? Because currently you can fit 2 bikes, sometimes up to 4 bikes per spot. And obviously that leads to more total places available for downtown customers. Do you have an answer right away, or?
2. We had discussed two per parking spot is what we had discussed.
Okay.
Yep.
So you already have a way to monitor which bike has paid for that spot?
So it would be through the system that we'd be doing the
Okay.
cameras.
At the last meeting, they said that if 4 bikes were
Up at
parked
the
in one
podium,
spot,
please, no talking
3
from
would
the
have to pay
audience.
for it.
Thank you.
Furthermore, on the
Been
west
through
side
that.
of Broad Street, motorcycles need to back in. Otherwise, it makes it very difficult to get out again. So if you're going to have a car-mounted monitor system, I don't know how you're going to see the plate. That could be another challenge. I just had one other thought, that an effective government knows when to make changes. It should also know when to leave well enough alone. Thank you.
My name is Thomas Langenfeld, also known as Todd Langenfeld. I've been a taxpayer in Prescott for 52 years.
Can't hear you.
I've been a taxpayer in Prescott for 52 years. Seeing the growth. Could we please have a show of hands of anybody in here that is in favor of this?
Who's in favor?
Could we have a show of hands of anyone that is in favor of parking meters downtown? Could we have a show of hands of people that are opposed to this? Ladies and gentlemen, you are representatives of the citizens of this community. I believe that they've already spoken as to what you should be doing. And I can't believe that you wouldn't go against this. As far as where can you get more revenue, Dar? Get on the phone to Robin
Why are you
Voss.
directing it just to me, Todd?
Because you're the one that said where you're going to get them.
Okay.
Get on the phone to Rob, get on the phone to Petrick, get a hold of Robin Voss. The state of Wisconsin has a $2 to $3 billion surplus that they're holding back, and they're cutting back aid to the cities and to the schools. Think about it. That would take care of it one way or the other. You want to get revenue? Get together, pass a 1% sales tax on drinks. in the town. Do you know how much money the city of Prescott receives from the sales taxes that are collected in this town? Zero. You get nothing. So if this is going to be for revenue, it's not the way to do it. The last thing that I would say is that, I've been here 52 years, and I've seen some things that are extremely upsetting over the years. But what I would say to you is this: there seems to be a propensity to want to make Prescott into what it's not. You want to make it large. You see Hudson, we say, well, we want to be a small Hudson. No, we don't. You know what we want to be? We want to be a big Afton. Okay? We want to be a big Afton. Okay? And I don't think anybody's going to debate it. Our property taxes are gone through we know that. Okay? And we all got the assess. You think you got assessed? Hopefully that's not going to be reflected back in the property tax situation, but it's not a good thing. This idea of, what's they call it, TPI, BPI, who the hell are these guys are there? They come in here, understand something, that all of this is written up by the people that put in the parking meters. Okay? If they don't put in the parking meters, they don't get paid. If they put in the parking meters, they get paid very well. What do you think they're going to say? Oh, you can't miss. Okay, you can't miss. So think about that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's quite obvious. Scrap it. It just has to be scrapped. And we know you're going to do that. You have to do that. So I thank you for your time. It's the first time I've come up here and not been told to leave early.
Hi, my name is Linda Peterson. My husband and I are new to Prescott.
Have your address, please?
555 Northern Lights Drive.
Thank you.
We've been coming to Prescott for years and years and years. I grew up in South St. Paul, and so it's always been a place we've come. Probably when I was growing up, I came to buy liquor. But we have so many family and friends that come here, and basically they all know what's going on, especially now since it's been on Channel 11. I think the one thing that upsets everyone is you're going to get more than $1.50 from these people. It takes an hour to get seated at any of the restaurants on the busy days. It takes another hour to just to get your food because they don't have the proper help. It takes, 45 minutes to eat and to get someone to pay. So these people know how much they're going to be charged right away, and they say they're not coming. They're just not going to come. So concerns us is the fact that it is going to shut, not just our stores, the few we have, but the restaurants, and there'll be nothing left of Prescott. I think that I have got family that are very well known in the bars, and they'll say those just stay home and drink in there, and it'll be sad. The other thing that concerns me is what happens to these people of not having overnight parking. We don't want them to drink and drive. And granted, people, I don't go to a bar and say, I'm going to get so drunk I can't drive tonight. But it happens. Where are these people supposed to do? Where are they going to park? Right now, on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, you can drive through town and you probably see 10 cars that are there because they were too drunk to drive. I'd hate to see people driving drunk because they have no other options, or they feel, I'm not saying they don't have other options, but in the state of mind that they feel they have no other options. I think it's a bad idea. My only other thought is, have you called these other cities where it hasn't worked and ask why it hasn't worked. Everyone pretty much has said everything else that I feel. I do agree with the last gentleman that came up. The people that are selling this to you, they don't care about our town. They care about the money. That's all.
Hi, my name is Samantha Schmidt-Key, and I live at 375 Dakota Street South. I've been here, at least 30 years, something like that. And I came because I like the view. And I've always jokingly referred to it as Mayberry, but maybe not so much jokingly now. I have some really great neighbors and some really good friends in town, but I have a lot of concerns. One, I ride motorcycle, so, okay, for example, flood run. How many bikes do we have downtown? And you're gonna allow 3 in a spot? And as the other gentleman mentioned, you do back in because the road slopes down toward the curb and you have to push your bike out. So you won't be able to see the plates. I also work for a local municipality across the river, and we have cellular antennas on our water towers. And I know for a fact that our cities didn't approach the cellular companies. The companies came to us to put their antennas on our water towers. And I know that the municipality that I work for, the revenue per antenna is in the tens of thousands of dollars per antenna. So what kind of contract does the city have with Verizon, if that is indeed the carrier referring to? And what are the terms, and how much is the city going to make off this antenna or antennas that you're going to be installing, and I'm assuming on a water tower? The other issue I have is that my father is elderly, just got his first real cell phone at the age of almost 81. He doesn't do apps. He's not going to come down and download an app. He doesn't even wear hearing aids, for God's sake. So he's not going to download an app to park, to go for dinner. If I have friends coming over and we want to go downtown, I can fit 4 people in my car. Am I going to make the other 3 walk down the hill? Probably not. We'll stay at my house and have dinner. I don't really see any good to come of this. Hastings, as somebody else brought up, they have 22,000 people. They don't have parking meters. They have a very nice parking ramp, but the city did not build that. That was built by the owners of the Confluence. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we have an empty lot where the steamboat used to sit. I don't see that as a good place for a parking ramp, given that it's right on the river, but it is vacant. You could have put one behind Holiday. That would have been a lovely place to put a parking ramp, although the homes behind it might not agree. Just a few things to think about, but I am interested in seeing the contract if you do indeed have one with Verizon. Because that would stipulate the terms and how much money the city would be receiving from them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mitch Wormington. I'm one of the owners at Muddy Waters. I really like public. Sorry, I'm Mitch. One of the owners of Muddy Waters. I mean, I love public speaking. This is like really comfortable for me. The big things that like go through my head about this is obviously there's a lot of people here that are against this. And as elected officials, it seems to me that you should listen to your people. I'm not a citizen of Prescott, but I've worked here for 18 years. I consider myself, at this point, very invested. Not only for my business, but just, it's really important to me. I want this community to do well. And it really bothers me that I feel like maybe we are being heard now. Because obviously, I mean, when's the last time you seen this turnout for this? I've been to a couple of these, so.
Pizza party.
Yeah, pizza, yeah,
No, in the
absolutely.
middle school, I was gonna say. That's when it was, yeah.
To me, I feel like the question I had when we came here for like a Q&A for businesses was, I asked the question, what are the other options that you looked at? I also asked, what studies, because it said that there were studies done. And I didn't feel like the answer was really good, Anytime I'm making a major decision, whether it's for personal reasons, my business, or let alone a community, which is a huge responsibility, and I don't know if I could handle it, but it's like you weigh out several options, don't you? I mean, pros and cons, what's going to work well, what's not, what are the impacts that they're going to have on the community, on the businesses, on the people, the safety, people will drink and drive.
Yes.
I mean, they'll not come to a bar because it's a quarter more for a beer.
That's right.
You don't think they'll park up the street? People will get off, like from drinking and walk up the hill. Like if I owned a house on the first block, I mean, I would be upset too if I had 2 teenagers that couldn't have parking anymore because people are avoiding the paid parking by parking up there. And then, let's not say that they're gonna walk up the hill and, vandalize because they're intoxicated, or sit in their cars and do things that people sit in their cars and do. So it's just something to think about. I mean, the Verizon thing has always been an issue. I hope that gets resolved soon, because my business partner has Verizon and I hate him for it. It's like I can't communicate with the guy. So now all of a sudden you're going to check in with an app. I get that there is a need for more revenue in a city. A city is a business. It is. I mean, you need to bring in money because you need to invest it back into your roads and in your city, right? But I just feel like there's other options, and I really would like to, I would volunteer my time, which, I have so much extra time, but I would drive up here and be a part of a committee to sit down and say, okay, what are some solutions we can do that not only could bring in some more revenue, but not impact so bad the way I feel this plan would. It's going to deter people from coming down to businesses. It will absolutely hurt us. And then I thought I heard that we're gonna make this in December. Is that right? Really? Because right now I'm in the red 4 months of the year already. And now you're gonna deter more people from coming downtown, the little handful that I get, enough to keep the handful of employees, because it's really easy to find employees right now, especially in the kitchen. It's bad. It's a bad idea. But again, I do understand that you do want to have more revenue and solve this parking problem, but I don't think it's as big of a problem. It's always going to be busy somewhere. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in any town on the river, in nice season, it's going to be busy. I expect it. But I mean, you shelve the idea of putting the other level on holiday, which I understand, that's a lot of money. But I think we could look at that and look at how can we put an arm on that, I mean, obviously you have a merchant account because you're a city, so you're taking people's credit card and credit information to pay. So I mean, you could minimally service that and then maybe make it up. I don't know how long that would take, I don't know. But the answer is, do you guys know? Because have you looked at those numbers? I'm
Yes.
sure you have, but I mean,
Yes.
it's something that shouldn't be
We looked
off
at
the
parking
table.
ramps. We looked at parking ramps, and we looked at what it would take to man it, basically, for the arm. We looked at if that could be outsourced. That was actually when Hovel was mayor. That was a while ago. We looked at the business basically sponsoring parking spots, like a per capita type deal. Like if they were to do a fee for that, that got turned down. So we squashed that. The parking ramp was extremely expensive.
Yeah.
We looked at that. There was no way we could getting a grant for that kind of thing is really hard to do.
Yeah.
But we did look at that. It was a while ago with Dave. And so Mike basically came up with the option for what we have right now. He's like, well, we got to do something. We have this land, we can cut into it, and then basically that second phase is hopefully gonna extend that out, but that's kind of why we landed on doing it through Mike versus doing a giant parking lot ramp, because it was not feasible at the time, and it would probably be pretty hard right now as well, especially with construction costs, so, well, it was looked at. I would have to go way back in the minutes and try and find what those numbers were, but they are there.
And maybe that isn't the answer, probably it sounds like is not, but
Now with construction costs right now, probably not, but.
That's the other thing, the last 2 years, we've had construction downtown. I mean, you had it on Front Street, right on the river, so I mean, obviously that impacted a lot of parking. You had it on Orange now, so you can't even, and then the municipal lot is not open. So yeah, you're feeling it a little bit. I mean, I had to park really far away just to come here, and I'm really upset about it. I just, to me, I just feel like there's.
I did too.
I just feel like there's another answer, and you know, we don't have to just green light this right away, just because it's right in front of you, and it's like, hey, why are we in such a hurry to make a decision? You know, I feel like let's take the off season to really look at all the options, and you know, there's got to be something we can implement before we're super busy to work out any kind of kinks or anything. But I just feel like this app-based deal and just the cost of operating and the cost that it will have on businesses and just off-putting. I mean, people will just not come here. I mean, there's definitely going to be a percentage for sure. And like I said, I mean, during the winter, that percentage is already not good for me. So now you're just cutting in even more. So it just, I feel like you're punishing. I feel like it's punitive toward business owners.
Yeah.
And I just want you to realize that we're all here for a reason, and just please let this one go. This might be the answer, but not until we weigh it against other things. And I feel like maybe there's some kind of hybrid or some kind of like option that we can do here that will be a little bit better. But, you know, don't get yourself locked into a contract, you know, without really looking at, hey, you know, maybe we just put the signs back up and maybe we enforce. I know you can't chalk anymore, I get that. But there might be some other options. I'm sure that there's another city in Wisconsin or other states that don't allow for chalking that came up with a good solution. And maybe we should borrow from that instead of just doing this, because I just don't think we're big enough to support it. So. That's my piece. Thank you.
Hi there, Sarah Plotachuk, Town of Oak Grove. I live in the Town of Oak Grove. I am not on the board anymore. I want to give an assignment real quick. While I'm talking, you guys think of whether you live in the city of Prescott. And if you know you live in the city of Prescott, walk up here and say your name and address and whether you support it or not. You don't have to say anything else. If you heard Matt or Angie or whoever say something tonight, you can read it or, say one point. But that is more meaningful, and it never happens in this room. Never. Okay. As an attorney, I think it's appalling from a locational privacy standpoint that you want to have a law enforcement officer go and just run everybody's plates. Like, let's just go look for warrants. Let's go look for who's driving the cars. Let's go look for unpaid registration. Let's go hope that Sarah's husband didn't pay his, so then when she's driving down at a bar or when a teenager is at Twisted Oak with her parents' car, that she's dealing with whatever's on that plate. It's ridiculous. The surveillance society we live in right now is crazy. But what's worse than having cameras is having the cops actually just running plates needlessly. It's ridiculous. I can't tolerate that. Sorry, that's my pet peeve. I wrote a paper on location privacy if you want to read it ever. And it addresses what happens, like to red light cameras and things like that in the cities that got it taken down. And it addressed what happens when you have all of those plates run. So I can get you a link if you ever want to read that. Even just having an app, I pay quarters. If I'm in Minneapolis, my kids go to piano camp or something at McPhail, and I put quarters in, because no government needs to know what cities I'm in when I'm in them. Okay, function of this. So I'm thinking, I'm like, where is the revenue here? Why are we charging $1.50? And it's like, oh, you want to charge $1.50 an hour because the people putting the parking meters have to get their take, and the enforcement is going to cost a lot of money.
Yep.
And the challenges to the city hall is gonna take lawyer money to fight these administrative citations. So then you have to charge $1.50 per hour in order to pay the guy putting in the meters and in order to pay the police officers who are doing their job, which is fine. But that costs a lot of money and it costs a lot of time, and I think we can use our resources better than that. And I say our because when people ask where you're from, I say Prescott. And the reason I said something about saying your name, I saw Pat nodding his head. Okay, so Pat is a friend, somebody who interacted with a lot of us on Facebook the other day, and he said, I don't know where you're from. I'm like, hey Pat, I'm Sarah, I'm from Oak Grove. You know that already, you know. But everybody, you need to tell them because you all could be from Oak Grove. Matt's from Oak Grove, Angie's from Oak Grove. They're business owners here. We live here. Okay, how are you managing inventory without putting a cap on the time limit? The only way I can see management going is like, hey, most of the people won't stop here, so we just keep going. Because if there's no time limit, then you're not managing inventory. You're just telling half the people, keep going. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm only shouting because of the lack of microphone. I'm not mad. Oh,
Microphone in front.
oh, well, then I won't shout. Sorry. But they can't hear it. We can't hear in the back at all. I couldn't hear. I should say before I get cut off, the real impact I see is for small businesses. And I mentioned Matt and Angie because those are the businesses that I have spent the most time in. If anything I say is cringy, just ignore my points and defer to what the small businesses are saying because I think that's a real impact here. But these are some points that maybe they aren't saying, right? These are other things that might get addressed. It has been said, I think this is the most drastic option, and this is not a criticism of this planning commission, but a lot of times when I show up here at meetings, it's because I feel like the city of Prescott is passing the buck onto somebody else. And the city of Prescott is really clever at that. I mean, the deal with the roads when I was on the board in Oak Grove trying to put I don't know how many $1 million bridge over a huge ravine. It's like, guys, that didn't work. And then a few years later, they came back and said, hey, it doesn't work. We want to now put a road across the fields and dump it off on a bridge that is like barely two-way bridge. It's like, well, it is admirable to generate revenue, but it comes at a cost. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, we can't even get flowers downtown watered. Like, this is a struggle in Prescott. I don't know if you guys all know this, but if there's flower baskets downtown, it is a struggle to get them watered. At some point, the city needs to process the tasks and the beautification and the parking and all of these things in the framework of the community they want to have, is my concern. As an Oak Grove resident, when the city started charging for the compost, I thought, well, dang, that sucks, but yup, if I were a Prescott resident, I would want Oak Grove people to be charged because we can make a buck off of them for a city-offered service. The loss here in this situation to me is different because the loss is on the businesses. It's not a city-provided service. The hit's being taken by the businesses. The same thing with the roads going around Prescott. The idea was if we plan the road here, then the developers have to put the road in, and then once the road exists, then the state can take over the cost of bringing it up, right? There's all these backdoor little loophole things. City's great at finding them. I admire that, but it just doesn't help the community, in my opinion. Okay, $120. I'm not gonna pay it. I mean, at least not tonight. I wasn't in here, Matt. I think maybe you said it, but is there Carter? Are you Carter? I'm sorry. I haven't met you before. I'm really friendly when I'm not at meetings. Somebody said we value our relationship with Oak Grove and Clifton. People, relationships are two-way. The relationship, the response, the overwhelming, knee-jerk, inappropriate response was, well, we'll go to Patax and Flanders. I mean, that's what everybody said on Facebook, in person. And it's smart alecky, and it's not thoughtful to the business owners, but that's what Oak Grove said. We'll go to Patax and Flanders. And somebody said, oh, are you going to charge for the Flanders parking lot? And it's like, whoa, dude, it's private. People are like, you can charge for Scab's parking lot. You know, it's like, who are you really affecting? But if a relationship is two-way, please know that my neighbors and my friends in Oak Grove don't feel like that's a relationship. I imagine it like, so I homeschool my kids, so we go down sometimes to Twisted Oak and we'll sit and do school for a couple hours. I mean, I'm not gonna pay $3 to go park to do school for a couple hours. But what happens is some teenagers come in. And it's like, so you've got it so like the Oak Grove teenagers have to pay to go sit at the coffee shop. And the Prescott ones don't. And then, I mean, there's going to be car shuffling and whatnot, but it just feels wrong to me. Okay, Matt said we're not a destination town. I wrote that. I don't know if that's true. In the riverfront tour that happened a couple of weeks ago, I was told how a lot of things are going to be and how we are going to be a destination town and how all of you guys are not organized with crap, so it's just going to happen whether you like it or not. So get organized. I mean, you're here, so somebody's organizing, but keep it going. Because that's the I mean, that was said out loud in a riverfront tour. That's really awkward to hear. And it's even more awkward when I say, wait a minute, who's doing that?
3 minutes.
Yes, sir. What I see here is I see the city of Prescott getting ready for new people while disregarding the old. And it looks like you're getting ready for something and you don't care about any of these people right now. You're getting ready for new people, you're disregarding the old. You're disregarding the people here. Okay, thank you.
I'm Brittany Fry at 188 Linden Road. I work at Aim Joy, and I'm 100% against this. I got a job downtown. One, I love Angie, but to be part of this community because I have my own business and I wanted to be out and communicate with people and just get to know them. And we have so many amazing people that come through this town. And in the last week, since the last meeting, there's been so many negative comments about how they won't come to the store, they won't go to Matt's store, they won't go to the restaurants. They'll go to Hastings, and it's really, that's just horrible to hear. And I want to see our community thrive, and this would just be a very, very poor decision. So I'm against it. Thank you.
Who conducted the riverfront tour?
I'm not going to say that publicly right now. But thanks for the question.
But it wasn't our person who's in charge of the riverfront improvement?
We can talk about this later. I don't want to.
We're talking about parking.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
So I have questions. I don't know if you can answer them or not. I know
Tell us who you are and where you live, please.
Melissa Rice, live in Prescott. I am opposed. What is the best guess estimate of the total cost of this parking project?
150 something.
150,000 of taxpayer money, many of whom are in this room who are opposed. Everybody, every single hand went up at opposed. There's way more people that aren't here. They're also opposed. I would also say you've heard from the business owners. They are opposed. You've heard them say it's going to hurt them. If you go through with this, it will be on you if you ruin our downtown. Amen. That's it.
Hello, I'm Michael Cherney. I reside at 266 Chestnut. I've been here a resident for 5 years. And I'm sorry it took such a turnout like this for me to see my neighbors and how well informed they are, how eloquent they were speaking. I'm very proud to call these people my neighbors. I was fired up, and right now I'm just, they had more eloquent way of saying the same things that are on my mind. We're wondering why it isn't governed from the people up, and it seems to be coming from top down. I'm upset, $8 million for a school, that's no longer a school, and all these things are changing in town. I just don't see the city parking. We're being taxed out of our home, and then now to see meters on the streets will change the feel of our town. I was fired up, I had a lot to say, and it was spoken better than I could have. But I would like to definitely say, I'm opposed. I think this is all changing the feel of our town. I liked the Lou's Landing, 68 years. I cannot believe this is happening to them. That's a lot of revenue that was coming into this town if you're talking about revenue. For parks, which isn't going to bring in anything. But thank you for your time.
behind you, Jane. Steve Burt, 170 Vine Street, been a resident in this town for 33 years. I'm definitely against this, even though that, hey, the shoveling the sidewalks, all the business owners have to do now is push it into the street, and the city takes care of it. They'll go and clean up Main Street. Are you gonna go do all the sidewalks in town, everybody that on Highway 10, when they got 2 lanes of snow that are pushed over onto their sidewalk that they're forced to take care of? Or how about going out 35, where there's a sidewalk up there, where 2 lanes of snow gets pushed over onto that sidewalk? Or how about up here by the ball field, where snow from 1 lane gets pushed onto the sidewalk, and you're requiring the residents to go through and clean that snow off the sidewalk and what came off the street? If you're gonna do all the sidewalks, hey, it might not be a bad deal, but I'm not for this. You got all these businesses in town that they get their money from people coming into this town. You start losing people coming into this town, they won't have a business. Need a better PA system too, so people in the back can hear.
Hi, I'm Jane Fiedler, Oak Grove. I work downtown for over 24 years, part-time. I work other places in town. I try not to have to cross the river because I don't want to go over there. So I keep most of my business in town. I just want to mention 2 things. Most people mentioned everything else. I want to say not only 1, but 2 elementary schools are within a block of where the free parking on your map shows for those who don't want to pay. So we have 2 elementary schools now that the middle school has switched with the intermediate. Also, paid parking will take away from numerous out-of-town people who support weekend fundraisers. If you go downtown, it's almost annoying. You go into a local establishment and you're like, who are all these people? Well, those people come here every weekend. How do you think money for the Canine, the Legion, Legion Auxiliary Food Shelf, twice a week, or twice a month, that's just one establishment. Wonderland Park, I mean, how many of you have been to a meat raffle? I mean, they raise $1,000 at just one event, and that's not a very busy day even. And then also, we are the gateway to the Great River Road. You're gonna keep people, they're not gonna take a left to Prescott. Hastings, Red Wing, Lake City are very cute, charming towns. If they're already gonna have a hassle, the first stop, and also there's no paid parking all the way to La Crosse. So, just something to think about. I'm totally against it.
Hello. As most of you know, I'm Bree Quaid, Bree Ditzler. I worked here at Philanders for 7 years, and I've been born and raised in this town. I'm really nervous. This is awkward. Besides the little boy that just entered, I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest person in this room, and I already know that this is wrong and how much it's affecting these businesses, these people, and how it's going to continue to affect our community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Boogren. I live on 497th Street. My wife, Michelle, has been in Prescott for 25 years, raised her kids here. I came from Cottage Grove. She lured me from Cottage Grove over here, which was the best thing I ever did. The thing that I joke about is I wish I would have done it sooner. It's a beautiful small town, and the crime is perfect. It's great. There's no crime around. The police department does a phenomenal job. We sit there and we talk about revenue. So the best case scenario, and for 37 years, I've looked at these kind of apps and these kind of drawings to show this is a best case scenario every time. When you're talking it's only going to generate $75,000, I'm sure the police force has way better things to do, and it's going to cost because you're going to have to hire somebody else to do it. They said 30 seconds to 1 minute to scan a license plate and read it. You talk about every single parking spot up and down, that's their job. They'll be patrolling, they won't be patrolling the area, they won't be checking the safety of our kids, they won't be keeping drugs off the street, they'll be going up and down the street. Think how long that would take, 1 minute every car, each hour. That's a lot. You talk about the businesses that don't have employees. Now we're gonna charge their employees $8 a week so they can come and work at an establishment and make money? $8 is a lot for a teenager. And you have multiple families that have more than 2 people and 2 cars at their house. we have 3 cars in our house. We don't use them all, but when we had her kids living with us, we had 5 cars in our driveway. We sleep in Oak Grove, but we live in Prescott. We're down in Prescott 3 to 4 nights a week spending money. Hundreds of dollars a week that we spend there because we love the small town. Our friends join us all the time, every single weekend. Now, are we going to drive right by Prescott and maybe go eat at the Valley because we're not paying for parking? The people that live in this community don't want it. The business owners, you look at the restaurants and everybody's seen the cost of goods have gone through the roof since there. So they have to raise the prices. So now you're looking at, okay, am I going to spend $4.50 for a beer? Am I going to spend $15 for a hamburger? And now I got to pay for parking? I think it's just wrong. It's wrong for all these business owners that are trying to make a penny, and now we're going to try to surcharge them and tax them a little bit more. So for the safety things, and who wants their 18-year-old girl that's closing the bar at night walking up the dark streets to get to their cars? I know I wouldn't want my child doing that. You know, so, but once again, though, I commend the job the police department does. I just think that you're going to have to add another police officer, and their time is more well spent patrolling, keeping us safe than that. And one more thing I'd like to say is, can we get these crosswalks painted down Main Street? It's unbelievable how many times you see people almost get killed. And you want to talk about raising revenue? Put a police officer on that corner and get these people from Minnesota coming across, not stopping for the crosswalks. Because eventually someone will get hit and die.
I want to just ask the board, I'm not from Prescott.
You gotta come up here to the podium, tell us who you are, where you live. No, you gotta stay over there, please.
I do not live here right now. I live in Ellsworth, but I am original. My husband was an original. Jane, you can count for that. The reason why I'm here is because my daughter is a third-year student in UWRF. She frequently comes down here with her friends from the colleges. And they have done lunch and dinner and whatnot. And I asked her, are you going to still go? She said, no, I'm a broke college kid. I can't come down here. I don't want $2 extra, $3 extra. I would like to give that money to my waitress. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to pay for my food. I'm not going to pay, and I'll go somewhere else where I don't have to pay for parking. That's going to hurt you guys. Because we, as a community, all of us, we support each other. You guys come to Ellsworth, we come to Prescott, we go to Baldwin, we go to Spring Valley. We support each other year-round, our small communities and our small businesses. I spoke to the gentleman out there with this company that wants to put this in here. We had a very, very pleasant conversation out there in the hall. It's about turnaround for you guys. He told me that you guys, the turnaround, he wants people to come in and pay their parking and get the next person in and move you in like cattle. Move us all in like cattle. I respect what he said. He was honest with me. He's running a company. But we are not cattle. And the people that sit down on Main Street, like that gentleman just said, that he spends hundreds of dollars here in town, those are the people, we are the town people that sit down there in that spot for 5, 6 hours, 8 hours, and we spend hundreds, if not thousands, in the community here, in those restaurants and those bars. But that's us, that's our town, this is what we do, you know? And what are you gonna do to get more extra money from the people that are coming across the creek? That's gonna hurt us. It's going to hurt all of us. It's not just going to hurt Prescott. It's going to hurt all of us around here. And I know I've spoke to my neighbors in Ellsworth. We've spoke about your problems here. We watch your problems just like we need you to watch our problem. Okay? We need you guys. We need your support. We're here to stand in solidarity for you. My husband would have been here. He's an original. He owned the bars his father owned bars on Main Street. We're here to stand together for you guys. But you guys need to do something for us and listen to our voices, because if you don't and you let this big company come in, or you're trying to make a little extra money, I just don't think it's going to work. And he said that people will get used to it. Are you going to get used to it? Because I flat out told, he was being honest. Don't hate him for being honest. Don't do that. He's being honest. He says, you know, when he goes into other states and villages, you know, they get used to it after a time. They buck the system. I told him, honestly, you don't know what you're dealing with. Prescott's a little bit more hard-headed. We all are out here. We are going to boycott you. We won't come here. We won't spend our money here. We won't, even if it's just a few extra dollars. You guys are tapping us left and right. The government's tapping us left and right. We can't afford our food, our taxes. They're going up. Look at my town. They want to raise the referendum again next year. We just gave them an open checkbook. You know, come on. What are you guys doing? Think of us. This isn't the way to build. I know you guys have bigger plans in your heads than this. This is just going to hurt, and there's going to be people that do buck it. They will, and they will boycott it, and I think it will be more than 30 days. So that's all I have to say. I'm here to just stand in solidarity and say, I care about you guys, even though I'm just a little further up the road. I still come here, still spend my money, and I don't want to see it happen. Because I'll tell you what, I don't go to Hudson very often anymore, and I used to love their rum cherry ice cream. But now that I have to pay for it, and pay for my parking, I drive down to Lake City. Like Gene said, I drive down to Lake City. All the way down to Lake City to get my rum cherry ice cream, just so I don't have to pay for that parking. Plus, I love the creamery down there. They have a great BLT with cheddar on it. So, with that being said, you guys, I hope that takes in. There's a lot more that he said, but those were 2 points that I just wanted to bring up that, you know, think about it. Think hard before you cast this vote for all of us, not just your town, but everybody. Thank you.
I think you forgot your phone.
Phone?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I know I spoke before, but I did want to add something in response to that. People will get used to it. They will also get used to going somewhere else, and the reputation will spread, which means they're not going to be that quick to come back.
So I'm Larry Johnson. I live at 505 Lake Street in Prescott. I represent 3 of the small businesses in town, Papatronio's, St. Croix Liquor, and St. Croix Realty. And as a representative, we are opposed to this. Reason being, in all of those establishments, the amount of time that our clientele spend in the establishment is, you know, 5, 10 minutes. Liquor store, they're in and out. Papa Teas, over 50% of our business is done on pickup pizzas. So it's just in and out to get a pizza. And I know there's probably going to be people who aren't familiar with the app, who don't have that access to the app, whatever it be, older people. And if they don't pay for their parking and they get a $60 citation, I don't see them coming back. I mean, there's reasons that some of the other municipalities in the surrounding area aren't doing this, and I think they're good reasons, and I just think we need to take a harder look at it. So I didn't really want to get up and say what I felt guilted into it, but that I should, as a representative. I don't like speaking in front of big crowds, so that's what I got to say.
Hello, I'm Mike Gerke. I live at 232 Dakota Street. As they said, this guy up here says get used to it. Ask River Falls about getting used to it. They had the meters, and all the people start moving into the residential area, get it? And the town was a ghost town. Why don't they have it now? How come they don't have meters now? It's because they're finally getting their people back. I just can't believe that a place, I've been in this town for 66 years, my entire life. It's either been in Clifton or here. When I first started, it was like 800 people in this town. And I've seen it grow, and I just cannot believe that we gotta have meters in a town, and the police department is gonna spend a minute on each car. What do you think that police car sitting right in the middle of traffic is gonna do? To go across, I think he said 140 some odd spots right downtown. He's gonna sit there 2.5 hours right in the middle of traffic? And that's gonna help your damn parking spot? I can't believe you guys.
Good evening, council members, public. My name is Jerry Zitta. Live at 452 Elm Street South. Been a resident of town for 34 years. It's my first meeting that I've come to, and there's a reason for that. Never felt I had to before. A lot of the people out here have expressed most of the things that I wanted to say on my list, and I appreciate that other people recognize it. The problem with motorcycles was brought up. How are you going to read plates when they're back into their spots? Why would you charge people for being conservative? 3 or 4 motorcycles parking in one spot, potentially freeing up 3 other spots, but yet you want to charge each motorcycle? Why? That's counterproductive. You're driving people away. What I see here lately is the city council and the city being reactive, not proactive. When businesses expanded in this town, mainly the dining and drinking establishments, you were all for that. You okayed their permits, you okayed their expansions, and now you want to deal with the problem of parking. You didn't think ahead? You're supposed to be proactive as a government body. Another thing that's already been touched on, and this is public safety, is the crosswalk issue. For many years, crosswalks have gone unpainted the entire summer season. Seems to be an afterthought. Don't know why that is. I understand it's specialized paint, you know, high traffic wear. It's not something you can go down to Menards and get. Is it a staffing problem? You don't have the staff to go out there and paint the crosswalks every April or May and get ready for the busy season? Again, you're not being proactive at all. You're endangering people's safety. You're not enforcing it either, and that could be due to a lack of officers. Address that issue as well. The new Front Street that went in. I parked down there for the first time this week. Pulled in, there's a spot in front of my car where you got to climb up 3 feet if you want to get out of traffic. You put the sidewalk on the wrong side of the street. I got to walk across two lanes of traffic to get to the sidewalk, and then I got to go back across a crosswalk that's not painted just to get back uptown. Is that safe? I don't know if the city planner was in charge of that project, or maybe it was before his time that it got started, but it wasn't thought out very well. Once again, being reactive, not proactive. You got to start thinking ahead. And this is not thinking ahead. If you really want to go with a way to generate revenue, and this is the program you've chosen, let us decide. Put it on a referendum in November.
Yes.
Let us vote about it, and then you will find out. Thank you.
My name's Gary Thurber. I live in Oak Grove Heights. You guys are going to charge me to park downtown? Man, that's sick. What we're here for is to discuss parking and the downtown meter situation, but I believe there's other options. We have a high school, we have a junior high, they have tons of parking places. But the downtown businesses gotta get busy and promote a shuttle bus. Let's use a shuttle bus. We got the parking spots, we aren't utilizing them. And that's just a big option that I came up with, but I'm sure there's probably 50 other options in this group here that could come up with a better idea than parking meters. I oppose it.
Mike Meyer, 74 Albert Street. Hula, how's it going, everybody? 20 years, active duty military. I was not in this town for 20 years. When I left this town, it was 1,700 people. Came back, I was like, wow, look at the Prescott. Keep it this way. I agree with the gentleman that just said a referendum. We the people, your position. Think about that for voting. And I will say this. I think it's a bad idea, for one, because I have kids that work downtown at Matt's shop. I go down there almost every day. I'm down at the coffee shop a lot. Restaurant, I'm a foodie, love it. Love this town, love the people. Sometimes a good idea fairy needs to be put back in the box.
Okay, my husband's already looking at me and he's not a good with this, but the reason I oppose, and I'm Michelle Bugren, by the way. I've lived in Prescott for 25 years, lived up the hill on Monroe Street, now I'm in Oak Grove. The parking issue, I feel like you guys are trying to jump on revenue for the city, which is great, but the only revenue you would get would be a Friday and Saturday night. Sunday through Thursday, there's so much parking, but now what you're gonna do is if somebody wants to go grab coffee or look at that cute little shop, when you've got 20 open spots, they're not gonna wanna stop, oh, I'm gonna pay, an extra $1.50 to go get a cup of coffee or stop at this cute little shop. I'm gonna drive on by. And it's literally only 2 days you're gonna get that revenue. The other thing too that bothers me is the drinking and the driving. We don't want people to say, I don't want this $60. Somebody had mentioned this before. When you're drinking, you're not thinking so well. A lot of people will just call for a ride, friends will drive home. But now you're enticing people to jump in their car because they're not thinking well, and they're gonna take off because they don't wanna park overnight because you guys are gonna charge them on that. And I just think that this whole thing, if you're looking for more revenue, I really do piggyback on what somebody else just said about put it on a referendum, let us decide. I don't even understand why this is even an option for such a small, no disrespect, group of people to decide for our community what we want. We pay the taxes here. We're supporting these businesses. We have friends and family that come to this town. But doing this is gonna hurt us. Like our family, we have relatives that come here once a month. And we will not do that. I'm not gonna have and these apps too, same. We have older relatives. They're not gonna download this app and they're gonna get a ticket. You think they're gonna come back? Never. It's just detouring people from coming here, and I really hope that you guys let the people decide. And if you don't let them decide, people remember when to vote when the city council comes up.
My name is Mike Mensing. I'm not a resident of Prescott, but I've got a long history with this town. My dad kept a boat at Point St. Croix Marina back in the mid-'80s. I eventually got a job at Leo's Landing. I worked at Leo's Landing for 4 or 5 years. Dick and Jen were like a second family to me. Eventually I got my own boat and kept it there, and now I have a boat at Point St. Croix myself. So I've got a long history with this town. I've seen a lot of things. The first thing I want to say is I don't see parking as a problem. Maybe Saturday afternoons at 3 o'clock on a nice sunny day, maybe. That's about the only time I can't find a spot in town. And then for the proposal, what makes the most sense for my family is that annual visitor pass. $120 a car. Well, I got 3 cars. It feels like a slap in the face for the money I spend in town. I did some rough math this morning. I figure I spend about $7,000 at the restaurants in town every summer. It's a lot of money. So this feels just like a slap saying, okay, now you gotta pay to spend more. I'm very much opposed to this. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole Freitag. I live in Clifton Township, but we own the building that Aim Joy is in. And we are opposed to this for several reasons that have been stated very well by the other people in town here. One of the biggest things is I don't see this helping with the parking project problem. On a Saturday night, if I come down to go to dinner, just because it's an extra $1.50 doesn't mean people are like, well, we have to leave right now. No, they're just gonna pay an extra $1.50 and stay just as long. If they're gonna come, they're gonna stay. I don't think that's gonna deter them and help with the turnover. I also agree with what Ben was saying about the bikers and boaters. We'll come putt down here on our boat to get the kids ice cream, and that public dock is always packed. And I literally would be more apt to go to Selma's sometimes up in Afton because we will pay the $5, but know we'll get a spot once we get there. So I could definitely see some public docks for charges being very popular with boaters. This is more of a destination for boaters. It's not a drive-through for the boaters. We come, we go to dinner, we go to the coffee shop, we go, get some ice cream. And it's not going to help this town. We don't want another small rural town that gets killed through good intentions. And I just don't think that this is anything that anyone that comes here, lives here, or works here wants to see happen. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm her husband, so I agree with her.
Smart guy.
Go ahead.
My name is Allison Tomley, and I'm a teacher at St. Joe's. And I have lived in Prescott my whole life. I grew up here. I didn't even think about the kid aspect of it, being, the playground, everything around there, and having people parking up that way. That wouldn't be very good, but that wasn't something I had, thought of before. But I was going in and getting my hair done today, and my cousin said that Grand Avenue used to have parking meters, but they had it for a short time, didn't work. This was pre, the rioting, whatever. So then they did away with them. And that was Grand Avenue. And also, okay, here's another point is, I went down to visit my daughter and I got a ticket, didn't pay it. After 15 days, it was $50. And Prescott is what, $60? Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't understand why we are even at all on the same plane or anything better than Madison, Wisconsin, or like you said, South Dakota. I just don't see that at all. One more thing I wanted to bring up, I made a list, so let's see. Oh, the Orange Street parking that's cut off right now, that accounts for a huge chunk of the parking that could potentially be causing issues right now. And I'm just seeing I'm just very frustrated to know that this conversation is even being had when I drive by that and I see an entire parking lot empty with 30 spaces in it. And then I see Orange Street empty, both sides, and I'm like, that's right there, that's Matt, and that's both your employees' parking spaces, and they're being taken up. So that's a huge chunk. Maybe I calculated because you said 438 spaces, maybe downtown potentially overall, and that right there, that's 30 some spaces, so that's a pretty good chunk of the amount of parking down there. So wanted to bring those things up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Runyon. I live at 806 Lake Street, and I'm not going to talk about the parking because everything's been said, but I do appreciate the effort to generate revenue because I live across the street from the beach for the last 30 years, and I've seen it go from this just beautiful place to, and I encourage all the passion to go down there and look at the restrooms right now. There is graffiti all over the walls. It looks like it's gang signs all over the walls. The sink, if you turn it on, the plumbing's wrong. It spills water all over the floors. So I guess I want to give you credit for trying to think of some ways to raise revenue, even though this might have been a bust, because we do need the revenue. We need to maintain these beautiful assets that we have, and right now they're falling into disrepair. So again, I just want to say I appreciate that you wanted to have some park projects and things like that with this excess revenue, and this might not be the answer, but our park assets most definitely need them, and I appreciate you that you not lose focus on that, because our beach is a beautiful asset. Not at the moment. The picnic tables from the pavilion have been dragged down onto the sand by people. There's no lifeguards anymore, and nobody cleans the beach. But it can be a beautiful asset again, and I realize you're looking for some revenue options to try to make that so. So, keep putting pen to paper, and don't forget about the Prescott Beach. Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing then?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, want to thank everybody for coming. There's no way we possibly be able to comment on everything tonight. I think we need to step back and think about everything, take it all in, and we'll try and get answers on all your concerns. Really appreciate them all. All very well done. Handled very well. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the reports of standing committees and commissions.
Don't leave, we've still got to get a lot of business to do.
The fun's over.
So,
Budget meeting.
Finance Committee.
Budget meeting, yeah.
Everybody come back to the budget meeting.
We have a proposed budget meeting on Wednesday, September 20th at 5, and a budget meeting Wednesday, October 4th at 5. We need to look at our calendars.
No. Can make it work.
For you, Lindsay, you've got a lot going on too.
It's my birthday. I know who gave it to her. There she is.
It's going to be very important for us all to be here for the budget meeting.
I will be.
No, I can do both.
I can do both.
Yeah, I'm good for both that.
Good to
All
go.
good, John?
I think that should work.
Lindsay?
Yep.
Maureen?
Yep.
Okay, good. I guess we can go ahead and pencil those in, Matt. Planning Commission, next meeting on September 5th has been canceled. Parks and Public Work, next meeting Monday, September 18th at 5. Health and Safety, Monday, September 11th at 5. Personnel, Wednesday, November 1st at 5. Any comments on that? Those all going to work?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is communication and new business. Public comments. The city will receive public comments on any issue not related to the agenda. Limited discussion by the council may take place. However, no action will be taken on any items. Includes receiving written requests or documentation, possible action of future consideration. Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 06-23, adopting Chapter 271, Article 4, cigarettes, vaping, and tobacco products, first reading.
Matt, you want to do this one since it's the first reading?
Sure.
So just to note, in your packet, the ordinance regarding smoke shops and vehicles are flip-flopped. With the smoke shop ordinance, we brought this to Health and Safety Committee. Basically, one of the concerns we have is that recently we've been getting some more inquiries regarding smoke shops, so trying to put some regulations specifically looking at what other communities have done. Hudson recently did one. So basically, the ordinance before you tonight is trying to regulate that. So specifically, working with our city attorney, the ordinance that's drafted limits smoke shops to the city to 1 per every 2,000 people. Moving forward, these would only be allowed in the C2 Highway Commercial District and I3 Mixed Industrial Commercial District. So with that, the further location restriction within your packet as well, the ordinance actually has 300 feet, cannot be located closer than 300 feet of a school, public or private preschool, elementary, middle, or high school, or your recreational center, 300 feet of a licensed daycare center, 750 feet of a public park, and 500 feet of another smoke shop. So with that, I'll turn it over to Council. This is the first reading, so.
Does that directly impact the two existing that we have?
It would impact them. They would both become legal non-conforming, essentially composed to the ordinance. They'd be able to exist as is within their location, but in terms of a new shop being able to locate there, and we'd already be at our 2 maximum.
So the 2 shops now they have to come, I'm sorry, I did not understand that.
Sorry, so the 2 shops now are both within the C1 district.
Okay,
So any new ones would have to be with the C2 or I3.
because our C1 is full. Or
Or
we're
C-
saying we don't allow it in C1
So
now.
if this were to pass and move forward, smoke shops would no longer be allowed in the C1 district. So this was reviewed by Health and Safety Committee, and they approved it to come to council for recommendations 3-0.
Do you think we need more than 2 smoke shops?
Well, no, it's just the zoning thing. Like, right now, they're not in that zone, and so, like, we're technically, I mean, that's where I kind of have some reservations about that. I don't, I, with it saying C2 only, that's where I'm a little lost on that one.
C2 and,
Because the 2 are
1, 3.
located in C1 right now.
Right.
And they're not supposed to be, according to the ordinance. Well, one of the owners is in here, Nate.
Are they gonna be grandfathered in then?
Well, and so.
So right now, we're discussing, so, yeah.
So I guess my question would be, if I'm understanding this properly, what we're doing is we're saying that there's a business that's currently there. That we're no longer, that area should no longer be zoned for it. So basically what we've done, if I understand this correctly, is we've now made that business invaluable to sell or do anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that because, now, unless you wanted, because if you say that they need a, what's the word I'm gonna look for, Matt? A special use permit or whatever. I'm not sure. I think that might be what I'm looking for. That they're.
So that's your question, they wouldn't need anything, they'd be able to exist as indefinitely as long as they exist, they would become a legal.
Would they be able to sell to somebody else?
They'd be able to operate exactly as they're operating now, indefinitely.
Okay.
If they sell their, are you asking if they sell their business?
Yes, if they decided to sell their business, would they be able to do that? And that
Yes.
new person could continue to do that? Because, again, they built up a business, and I wouldn't want them to be.
They would have to stop use of the business for a full year before they would no longer be able to operate or sell to create a new.
So they could sell and still operate a tobacco shop there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So, why do we not want it in C1?
I think the discussion at the time was due to the proximity of school and tobacco shops, we were looking to keep them out in parks and things like that. We were looking, based on the discussion we had with Health and Safety Committee, that was why we were looking at C2 and I3.
Okay. Do we know of any, I'm going to call them state statutes or regulations or anything like that that mandate a distance or anything like that we know of?
Mandated distance?
For
No.
a smoke shop from a school or a park or anything like that?
It was simply looking at other proposed ordinances and reviewing those.
Okay.
The regulations regarding smoke shops and smoking in general don't have distances in them.
There are similar regulations related to serving liquor.
Right.
They do have them? Oh.
But they're both in the downtown, so they wouldn't even fall underneath that ordinance because there's no school.
Sorry, in terms of,
The two existing smoke shops are in the downtown area. This is the only one that they're going to be affected by it unless somebody else comes in and wants to open one up, correct?
correct.
But technically you could have another one downtown because they aren't close to a school, or are we just at a maximum that we're allowed within that district?
This is just a proposed ordinance, so this isn't anything that's passed, so anything
I understand that.
can change at this point. So at this point, C1 would not be allowed, so that would be the driving force of why they wouldn't be there in terms of where
I
they're at.
think with them existing already in C1, it would make sense for us to add C1. I don't think it makes sense for, I mean, I'm not.
Rather than
Yeah.
make that area moving forward, not welcoming to that kind of a business, I would be, I would not be in favor of that. I would be, and somebody mentioned a comment, is 2 smoke shops enough? Well, I don't know. But if somebody wants to come in and open up a business, I'd be interested in entertaining that offer, I think, more than saying we don't want any more of those downtown. Now, I don't even smoke, but we've got a ton of places that serve liquor in that small area.
What's the difference?
Kinda.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And again, so rather than inhibiting it, I would say maybe not putting it on the block, 2 blocks or whatever away from a school or a park. I can see it as a thing, but that's not where they are right now. And that's just my thought.
I'm on the same page. Yeah. I do agree keeping it away from schools, We don't want please don't open a smoke shop right next to the school. Yeah.
So Matt, the C1's basically downtown, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're saying that's too close to the schools? That's the idea of...
No.
Maybe members of the health, you guys could jump in too, just so I understand, because I think the
Yeah, I
discussion
mean,
was...
it's because, we didn't want more than, I shouldn't say we didn't want, but what the discussion was, do we want to have some sort of limit within the city, especially now that we've got more THC gummy available, other things that are available just besides the tobacco products. So do we want more than 2 shops that provide that?
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about the number of shops, I'm just talking about the limiting it from the C1. What was the reasoning behind that specifically?
I don't know.
Not
Matt,
allowing
can
it
you
in
explain
C1?
the logistics to the
I
C1?
think specifically, the thought process was that the school parks, and it's more of a central node, and
Right.
trying to limit that. But again, that can be changed, and we can put C1 back in there and keep everything else, if that's what you're discussing.
I was just curious.
I think we should probably send it back to health and safety. If that is is that really what you're,
I think the C1 is the one that, yeah.
okay.
So if we can make the modification in C1, I think everything,
So I guess the proposal, do you just want to add C1 into it and then bring it back for a second reading?
I don't know.
I guess my thought on it is downtown seems like the most
Reasonable place to put
logical
it.
spot for
Yeah,
a smoke
sure.
shop, I guess, and I don't want it up in like residential neighborhoods.
But and then, we were talking about different areas, such as up by where Snap Fitness is. We couldn't, and there's spaces available for businesses.
Sure.
Do we want that
I think
type
that,
of business located there?
I don't think it would qualify because it's too close to the
Daycare, correct.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm gonna ask the question, is it too close to the daycare? I don't know.
500 feet, I would think so, that's, yeah.
Is it 5?
I would think you're
It's
probably
100 yards.
pretty dang close.
I guess I would want specifics on that. Because it's not that, from the tax which sells liquor, draw a line to the, straight across, that's not, that close. Or, I mean, it is pretty close. And I just, for my thought, I don't find a smoke shop anymore needing any more restriction than anything else that we already have, is my thought.
so let's go ahead and incorporate that into
I don't consider
this
that any more than
ordinance,
liquor.
and then send it back to
I
do a
don't
second
consider it any
reading.
more than liquor.
Sorry, so the point is add C1 back in and
Correct.
send it back, have it come back to council for a second reading.
Correct.
Okay.
Did you all agree with that?
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, we're done with that? Next item on the agenda is ordinance, 0723, amending chapter 443, article 1, junked vehicles and appliances, first reading. Daria, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll
or-
take this one. This came before Health and Safety, and basically it's going to conform commercial properties to have the same junk parking restrictions for junk vehicles as residents. So,
Just,
Oh, that's your fault.
So for the people that tow, as long as they have it behind a shielded, like, fence, essentially, is kind of what you're getting at?
basically, I mean, it's treated that same way. Matt, you wanna also?
Yeah, so as long as it's in a building or structure or screened, basically it has to meet the same requirements that any of our residents have in terms of junked vehicles and appliances. Whereas before, there was an exception to the,
For commercial properties.
for commercial properties.
If we can add the comment of the screening, because right now it just states, stored within an enclosed building or structure, and then then it says operated in a lawful place and manner, a storage place or repository, lawful manner, seasonal vehicles, if we can just add the word like a screening fence, because otherwise that would impact the towing group, because right now we don't have that, it needs to be structure or building. And a fence is not is a fence a structure in our definitions? I don't know. It's not?
It's not.
Yeah. So I would say if you can't see it.
you think structure is too vague?
Yeah, because a fence is not a structure.
We can have a motion.
I would make the motion with approving the first reading, but with the addition of adding something around a screened fence or something like that? Or does it have to go back to ordinance?
I would just
Matt?
say, make the motion to pass it to a second reading with the addition of a fence, so that way you make sure you get exactly what you want in the wording, so in the second reading, you'll actually see it, and that's then what you approve. That works for you.
What Matt said.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the first reading of 07-23 with the additions that were mentioned. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried, thank you. Next item on the agenda is agreement with CIT for the installation of cameras at the Prescott Beach and shelter bathrooms for a total cost of $16,638. You look in your packet, you'll see examples of why we want to do that. I mean, we've got a beautiful new beach house that continuously gets graffitied. And beach, that saw the pictures of the beach and stuff on there. So I think it'd be a good idea. I mean, we've got a picnic table dragged right down into the water. So.
With people swimming next to it.
Yeah,
That's good.
need a doctor.
Where is this coming out of?
So currently, we'd have a surplus within our police department budget due to some unforeseen, unfortunate staffing. We were short for quite a bit of period, so we'd be taking out a line item from the current budget of the police department.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for letting us borrow that. I guess if it's coming out of the police budget, I mean, this has been a long time coming now. I make a motion to approve the amount of the $16,638 not to exceed with computer integration technologies.
5 cameras.
Based on the map, yep.
Correct.
A second?
Yes, second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve the installation of cameras at the Prescott Beach Shelter and bathrooms for a total cost $16,638. Is there any discussion on the motion?
We should probably update our signage at the park to note that there's cameras. So people are aware when they go to visit.
Question, so, and I'm not sure if you can answer this or not, it may have to be a prosecutor or whatever else. If we catch a picture of somebody on the camera, I know Wisconsin, if I'm correct, doesn't allow for red light cameras and you can't chalk somebody's car or do anything else like that. Once we have this camera and we can get a picture of it, what will we be able to do with that information to stop or slow down or encourage people to not do it again? Because if we can't do anything with it, sadly, this was something that was brought to my attention. I was like, I don't know the answer to that.
So, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Sure.
The Constitution of the United States has deemed that free air is not an invasion of privacy, okay? So law enforcement or any entity can go down and take pictures of any plate they want or any picture of any person they want as long as they're in the free open space, meaning out in public.
Sure.
Okay? So basically what this means with this is that it's no different than anybody walking up to City Hall or walking up to the police department or any other business that has cameras, all right? If some person is doing ill-refuted work and trying to beautify in their own eyes our beach house, and we catch them on camera, and we have a picture and we can identify them, that can be used to prosecute. And then how does that, excuse me, how does that stop it from happening? Pretty soon word's gonna get out.
Right.
That, oh boy, now they have cameras and they're able to catch us, and we're not gonna do that down there anymore.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what I was hoping for, as opposed to, that sounds pretty clear, because again, if we're gonna spend the money to make it a deterrent, we want it to be a deterrent that can hopefully have teeth to it or use it. And it sounds like that's a fairly easy way to do it, knock on wood.
We've considered cameras for downtown, and the other day, I had a tour of the new food pantry building, and they're also concerned about graffiti and vandalism on some of their outdoor equipment, which is extremely expensive. They have big compressors for the freezers and for the refrigeration. And I believe they're looking at cameras as well. So, and part of that's our investment. We paid for the grant. We paid $25,000 into the building from our own city funds. And I think there are legitimate concerns for cameras in that building as well, plus the ones that we're considering for downtown. So cameras are an expense that we're going to be looking at in this next budget, so.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion for the agenda item.
I made a motion.
You got a motion and a second. That was
Yeah,
just
you did.
discussion.
Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for bringing me back.
You're very welcome, sir.
It's been a long
You
one.
didn't like my aside, huh?
Okay, is there any more discussion on the motion? Do I need to do a roll call?
No, it's already a budgeted item,
Okay.
so.
All those in
budgeted
favor
line.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agreement for municipal water, sewer, and public works service mutual aid. Matt, would you like to take that?
Yes, so this is a former agreement that actually just recently expired that we had with a number of cities surrounding us, and it has to deal with FEMA and emergency response. So if there is an emergency, basically agreement allows for whichever municipality that does have that emergency to call out to those other communities to aid. The key within this agreement, the mutual aid agreement, in the event of emergency, it does allow the responding agency in terms of, let's say an emergency happened in city of Glenwood and they requested the city of Prescott to come, we would have the ability to say no. I mean, so, and that's important just to note, if it's something that comes through and affects Prescott and other cities along the way, we do have the ability to say no to that. So that's the only one big caveat just in the agreement. Otherwise, this is a former agreement that was passed in 2012 and recently expired, and it is something that, in terms of DNR, when they look at and do audits, that they look for.
Motion to approve the mutual aid agreement.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the mutual aid agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 39-23 approving 2 change orders for 911 Pearl Street at a cost of $3,181.50 to the city of Prescott.
So this is the last change order for 911 Pearl Street. As you recall, the food pantry building is one that the city of Prescott purchased back in 2021, and we got the grant through the United States government, the CDBG grant, through the Department of Administration with Wisconsin. As part of that, we were required to do $25,000 of expenditures out of our own funds. That was one of the requirements in terms of us going back and asking for additional funding as the project did go over budget when we first went out for bids. So basically, as part of this, that change order has 2 items. Sorry, lost my place. One was for staining and sealing doors, and then the additional one was for, yes, river rock along the side of the building. Therefore, there was grass there, and there were some issues with both drainage was concerned and also maintenance in terms of how would that be maintained. So the river rock was the best solution in terms of cost. So even with those 2 expenditures, we'd still be at just over $25,000 in terms of our funding. By
Where's this
$284.50. So
Where's it coming from for these 2?
what's that?
The money, which are
The capital improvement fund.
capital improvements still come out of, okay. Make a motion to approve the 2 change order requests.
Second?
We have a motion, a second to approve Resolution 39-23 for the change orders for 911 Pearl Street. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll do a roll call. Lindsay?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dar?
Aye.
John? Pat?
Aye.
It's been a long night.
No worries, sir.
Maureen?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the nomination for Planning Commission for Michael Hunter.
I'll make a motion to approve Mike Hunter
Second?
to Planning Commission.
We have a motion, a second to approve Mike Hunter for the Planning Commission. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Other business, we have board review coming September 7th at 4 o'clock. So,
Take off work. Work through a couple lunches.
and We have a DNR approval of a grant request for McGee Park. Matt?
Yes, so we applied through the Knowles Nelson program for funding through McGee Park improvements. This was for building the paved trail that was proposed through there, as well as the parking lot, as well as some other minor improvements like running a water fountain in order to extend utilities. Tentatively, that has been approved by the DNR for $280,632.50. So that 50% of the project funds, so the other 50%. So once we have an actual agreement, it will be brought before you for consideration of
Pay for the other
approval.
half, 50/50.
God,
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other business? Okay, we have a closed session. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to go into closed session?
Second?
Okay, we have motion and a second to go into closed session. Daley?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dar?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lindsay? Okay, we are in closed session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys can go. You got this.